Hello, how are you doing? This is Miho from Canada. Hope your mental and physical health are good and fit. So today I'm going to talk about empath or empathy. I think we hear more and more about it, and nowadays the respected or being liked leaders has this quality of empath or empathy. Not like really, forcing or, go, you can do this, that kind of leader it used to be. It's the quality that people look for the leader is more for the empathy. So what is empathy? This is something that you can understand or you feel other person's perspective or the feelings. You're almost like you put yourself into other person's shoes so that you kind of understand from their perspective of life. It doesn't mean that you feel exact the same feelings, which is impossible anyway because we have totally different background, different walks of life. But empathy is something that you have a quality to understand what other people is going through. That comes from being yourself, being who you are, being just, a good person. And if you are struggling with who you are, you have no room to really care for other people, to feel what other people, might feel, because you have no room to, do that. So having empathy is something that you've been working for yourself to improve your personality, to become that level. And this is something that you could train yourself and to learn. And this is the way that you feel really good about yourself to live, and people who really appreciate this empathy because they really feel they attracted to the person who have the empathy because they can trust, they feel ease, they feel really settled, like they could really share, to trust that person who has empathy. So this is a really good quality and traits to have as a person. So in order to have that empathy, I have like 6 points to make, and this will really enhance your understanding or ability to become more of the empathy. So number 1 is to boost your self-worth. So this is big because I didn't have that one for so many decades. Like I was totally felt like self-worthless, and I needed to learn, individual people have this self-worth. Like every one of us has the worth in us. We just need to find to see it. And you might have brought up in a way where people been telling you that you have no worth, or you're not this or that, so you felt like you're not good enough. But you are, as a person, just to be here. You have a worth. You have a worth to be here. So you work on that, self-worth by doing things that you really like to do, and be honest with your feelings and wants and needs, and you go for those, and you start to build that self-worth, because something that you decide to do and something you couldn't do before, and finally you could do it. So that process also makes you feel self-worth. Or some people do volunteer so that you feel like you're serving something out of you to help others to make feel good or do something good, to other people. So number 2, your intuition. Intuition is something that everybody has. It's just some people who are more keen to it because they pay more attention, or they're very clear of that connection, so that you get more of the intuition. And having this intuition is a very magical thing that, it's just you have the gut feeling like, I don't think I want to go there, or I think I should buy this now. And when you didn't, you just feel like, I should have done it, right? That sort of like intuition, and like the hunch, like, I think this person is nice, or I think that person is not nice, or sort of intuition. And that applies to your family life, in general, and work opportunities. So when you have this sharp intuition receiver, that's really good. Number 3, to meditate. This is something that you don't have to do a huge, ceremony to it. This is something to really calm yourself down, to look internally. You have so many thoughts, you'd be surprised. Like, you have millions of thoughts coming through in your head. And then you just stop that by just being empty. You just empty yourself. And some people do that well in a sitting position or yoga pose, or getting into the mode of candles and all the setups. But some people are good with moving emotion, so that when you're in move, you feel like empty and your mind is empty. And I'm more like a latter part. I rather be moving in order to empty my mind. So I do both, but you don't need to spend a lot of time. If you like to do it, that's fine, but this is something to calm yourself down, to really see internal self. And number 4 is set boundaries. This is important too, because I didn't learn this for many, many years, and then I just let the family member walk all over me. And I thought, just because I'm the daughter, so I just say yes to everything. But you don't need to say yes to everything. You have a strength to say no, because you cannot do everything in life. You cannot please everyone in the family or everyone around you. And you have things in priority. What would you like to be? And to the certain point, you do your, help and putting energy out, but at a certain point you put this in a boundary. No more. I would say no, I need my own time to really self-reflect, because if you're not in a good mode or good position, you're not good to help others. You'll be irritated easily, or you get upset, or you just yell at unnecessarily. So you need this boundary, to set the boundaries. And this could be hard to set it up, but you will find where the good medium to set the boundaries. And number 5 is self-love. This is something that you're interested in yourself. When you start looking internally, and you will start to discover, like, I could do this, I could do that, or I was nice. That sort of discovery you start to find out. And that could be different from what you've been told, while you're growing up, because you kind of almost see the world through, your parents or your family's eyes. And now you start to really be independent and see the world by yourself, which could be a totally different perspective, and that's totally fine, right? And it could be so different from family that might, gives a lot of turmoil and a lot of arguments, but that's you. And then, so to find who you really are leads to this self-love. unless you know who you are, you just don't know who to love, right? So discovering who you really are, in the process, you start to love yourself because you start to discover yourself more and more. Like by doing things that you couldn't do before, but you challenged yourself, and all of a sudden, you reach the point that you did it. That's a little step, but it's a huge step for you internally. It's like a little kid who couldn't do, say, I couldn't walk for, 3 steps or more, and all of a sudden you start from one end of the room to the other, and it's like, yes, I did it, kind of thing, right? You could find a little examples similar when you observe the kids, and they are so pure, they're just full of joy. And why don't we do that? Because we are an adult, we can't experience that? No, we are in the human beings and at a different stage, but we could find a lot of things we couldn't do before, but because you put effort to it and time to it, now you have experience and you've done it. That gives you a lot of discovery of yourself to love. So number 10, which is the last one, is grounding. This is also very important, especially nowadays. There are so many turmoils out there, a lot of worries, a lot of talks, a lot of negative thoughts or actions, or anxiety you might feel and you might hear. And when you are not sure about self, or always kind of being directed by other forces, this grounding is really important, because from time to time you need to release all those negative feelings or negative things that you've heard, which collects inside. And then instead of putting your really heaviness into yourself, or being not sturdy, meaning that you get affected by what other people say so easily, and you're not aligned yourself, right? So when you have this grounding practice, is to help you to see what it is, what you like to do as a person, right? And so you put yourself back into yourself, to back into alignment with yourself. So this grounding, self-grounding, is very helpful to stay sturdy, stay really calm, and instead of being affected by what's happening around. And that could be so energy draining, and you cannot really feel settled. Like, it's always get agitated easily. So grounding yourself is really, really important, so that you align yourself and you just ground it, so that you're sturdy to the ground. And there's so many different ways of doing things, but even just to think yourself, you're grounding yourself. It's almost like a pole going through to the earth, through you to the earth, and then you just really, standing on that point. So those practice will help you to grow your empathy. And because you're so fulfilled yourself by all those 6 points, that you have room to feel the empathy for the others. Unless you have a good condition of yourself, you don't really have the room to do it, even though you want to do it, but you're too busy to settle yourself first, so that you need to really work on yourself first. Then this empathy will be growing, and having this quality is really good for you and people around you, and the people who attract to you, because they could trust you, they could really feel ease, right? So something to keep in your mind. And hopefully, you have a good day and a good mental and a physical health. Okay, see you in the next video.